What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Way Podcast. Today, I'm joined by my man Sugary. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Good, thank you. I might be doing better than a few judges and a letdown boxer, but if I speak, I'm in big trouble. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. Like you said, I think yesterday I saw your post-fight reaction. You were instant on the chat. Let's go. Let me go live. I want to speak now. I weren't available, but I saw you. You're quite heated. Have we calmed down a little bit, or are we still?
Let me just do this one more time.
Man there trying to stop Drogba getting himself into further trouble.
I had to draw for that one more time because that's honestly how a lot of us watching, a lot of casuals watching, a lot of former fighters are watching, and Carl Froch F off.
I mean, so let's just go straight into it. Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall. Now, I want to break this down into a few things before the decision, the actual fight.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. I thought Catterall boxed way better than what I expected. I thought Josh Taylor, I think we kind of say this quite a bit. When you lose a few rounds, you are now struggling to make up the rounds. And in the first 6, I had it 5-1. I gave Josh Taylor the second round just because you're going to give any round. That's the particular one you'd give.
That's popular consensus, yeah.
But I was so impressed with Jack Catterall that it shocks me for me to sit here, and I think the outrage is as well from everyone else, that he's now not unified champion. Bearing in mind what he's done, what he's stepped aside to allow himself to get this opportunity, and now what's going to happen. I guess from me to you, were you surprised with how the fight planned out?
Excuse me. Very, all thought it's gonna be, and credit to Jack Catterall for like disrupting the party. We all thought it was gonna be the coming out party for Josh Taylor. We thought, how long have we been saying on this pod, man? Josh Taylor deserves the platform to have a big fight in front of his people, put a showcase for everything he's done. Obviously, he was fighting during the panoramic abroad, so it was a thing of like he can finally get his chance to go out there and be the big showcase. Obviously, he got injured as well, let's not forget. But as much as I would have liked Josh Taylor to win, Jack deserved that victory. And just the whole thing of when people are just like, Josh Taylor was finding it hard to find his rhythm. And I said, yeah, because Jack is disrupting it. I think a lot of people give more credit for Josh Taylor not being himself rather than realizing that no, Jack was the one that was using good tactics to get in there, rough him up when he needs to. His jab was looking superb. It was catching Josh Taylor on the end of like certain, long range punches that I don't think Josh was expecting, and he couldn't get started. He couldn't get into second gear for a long time, because I think even it might have been you or Ash in the group chat was even saying, "Oh, Josh is finally into having his second win," and I said, I think this is near the latter part of the fight, and I said, for me, this is his first win, honestly. And I said, I understand a lot of these people that just want to be contrarians are saying, "Oh, but Jack didn't finish off strong." Fair enough, you could argue that, but if you've got so many rounds in the bank, a fight is not scored on how you finish it. A fight is scored on round by round if you got those rounds in the bank. And that's what Jack done. And he got a knockdown. And Josh Taylor got a point docked. So it's kind of like, how did you get 114, 111? That was the most criminal one. But even the other scorecard, it was just like, nah, like this is criminal. And then when you look at some of the punch stats as well, whether it's the overall punch stats or the punch stats looking at round by round, Jack outlanded him. So what more do you want?
I think, like I said, I'm going to be in that semi-controversial camp, and it's that idea of leaving it to the judges. I did feel like when they were reading the scorecards out, I sat there and I thought, we are going to get a split decision. Because normally, if it's a unanimous decision, you get all the judges, all the cards are read. So you just knew once the first card was read, something will happen here. There is going to be an element of controversy. And I guess from my side of things, like you said, this was meant to be Josh Taylor's big stage before we kind of see you go to 147.
Mhm.
As much as he didn't live up to it, I guess to your point as well, Catterall's the reason why he didn't live to it. It's not to Josh Taylor's detriment that he couldn't box. It was because Catterall was just better at the day. Now, on to, I guess, the decision, the fallout itself. I saw a credit to Ben Shalom for this, because you don't normally get promoters come out as instant and as verbal as he was. And he said that, he goes, on commentary afterwards, he goes, something along the lines of, I'm promoting this. I've seen this before. I'm trying to put integrity back into this. So I have to do an inquest. And you could genuinely see, like we said, kind of touched on it outside, off air. Unless he's acting, you could genuinely see the fact that he was kind of distraught by this.
Yeah.
What I want to say to you is, first, we've got that, but the Josh Taylor fallout from this, him just confirming that there's no rematch, him confirming in his mind that he's without a shadow of doubt won, and then in the post-fight press conference as well confirming it. I guess for me, it looked like a bit of a bad look on him. Do you kind of have that similar viewpoint, as in to say that, okay, I respect my opponent, but I definitely won the fight, but at the same time, not like thinking about the general consensus?
I think I don't blame Josh Taylor as much, because when you're in the heat of the battle, he's going out there, putting it all out there. So on his behalf, I think the only time it comes off bad is if you're defiantly like, it couldn't have gone the other way. And I feel like that's what some people's issue is. It's just like, fair enough, if you want to feel like you won, then no one can take that from you, because you are in there, you are taking the licks and giving them out. You know, you got to appreciate athletes whilst they're there and everything. At the same time, I guess there's a certain class that comes with it. And no one's saying that you have to lick your wounds and say, yeah, Jack won, I don't deserve it. But at the same time, it does come across like, are you actually just not going to acknowledge that, you know, Jack had put in a lot of work in this fight and that it could have gone either way. So cognitive dissonance is running wild. And I feel with Josh Taylor, it's a bit of a reality check. And boy, I didn't want to say this, but, you know, the boxing streets are talking. They're looking at Ben Davison funny in the light.
I was just gonna say, like, we've given him credit, but then I guess, like my friends were saying to me, they go like, who is Josh Taylor? Not in an arrogant way, but in a way to say, because you said he's not been promoted. Then I've put it out there to say, he's this, trust me, he can do this.
Yeah, same.
Then the fight comes around, and reality, being as much of a favorite he was with the bookies and just in the general boxing world, the moment probably got a bit too big for him. But also at the same time, I guess we are going to touch on this, the 140 weight cut probably isn't that there for him. I mean, he's confirmed 147 now.
Yeah.
Before we touch on that, I want to touch on referee and officiating. How do we get rid of this problem? I mean, it's unfair to say to a boxer, don't leave it in the hands of the judges when you have 12 rounds to fight in, and then you have these experts who are paid to do a job where we leave. If we can't finish the fight, we trust you to make the correct decision based on what you see.
Yeah.
So how do we even like work on that particular thing? Because it's all good and saying there's an inquest or removing them from particular big fights, but it seems like a common reoccurrence that makes boxing casuals lose the joy of watching boxing.
I think the only way it changes is if people find a way to impact the British board of boxing, because they don't care. They obviously don't, because this has happened one too many times, and it's a case of, unless there's a big movement that happens, whether it's the fans, whether it's officials, whether it's the fighters, whether it's the promoters, unless a big powerful entity comes in and, you know, checks the British board of boxing control, they're not going to change nothing. And it's sad, because a lot of the people saying, yeah, don't leave in the hands of the judges. Well, guess what? Not everyone's some, you know, big, massive power punch to just knock someone out. And especially with Catterall, is like, everything came well for him that night. That might have been the best performance of his life that he's just put on out there. So to tell someone who's giving it their all, to the point where we saw, I remember I was saying it by like round 9 or 10, I said, this guy has emptied the tank. but kudos to him. And if he can survive this, he's won it. And all those people saying, yeah, but you need to look strong in championship rounds. Guess what? He's giving it his all.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But if he's banked a certain amount of points before that, if he's got a knockdown, it don't matter if he doesn't finish strong. It's the dumbest thing because I've seen so many people that's agreed that he won 8 rounds. And you got to remember, that's 8 rounds with a 10-8 in there because he got the knockdown. So if he's won 8 rounds, it don't matter if as long as all those last 4 rounds are 10-9s to Josh Taylor, it doesn't matter if Jack lost them because it shouldn't recover the amount of points back that Jack has already put in the bank. So it's just boxing is just gonna box, man. And like I said yesterday, the boxing board of control and the judges got to think to themselves, as far as boxing has come from some darker days when people weren't too interested, do you really want to go back to people not being interested and not putting their money into this and not having big money fights and big production because you want to act stupid?
I think
that's all you can say on that.
I think on this case, another thing that kind of takes fans away is the growth of mixed martial arts and UFC in particular. Like, you have an alternative.
Yeah.
If you don't care too much about boxing, most Saturday nights you're gonna get a UFC card, so you could just gravitate towards it.
I said that in the group chat. I said, F this boxing stuff. I'm watching UFC now.
Yeah.
Well, not that I didn't watch it before, but I was so pissed off. I just switched off the boxing and put the UFC straight back on.
More entertaining, and yeah, you still have poor decisions there, but it also gets to
it's
that.
Not as ludicrous.
Yeah,
it's definitely not as ludicrous. I think the difference is in MMA a lot of the time, the poor judging is just that. It's just poor judging. Whereas boxing, I think, is seen as poor judging and corruption. And I feel like that's where the issue is because at least, listen, MMA is not perfect. It has its flaws. There have been times when I've watched, fights and I've been like, these judges are screwed over this fighter. But like I said, you bring it more down to incompetence. Whereas boxing, how many times should we have to say, oh, he really has to beat the guy to beat the guy? That is stupid. If I've beaten you, I've beaten you. Point blank, period. Like that whole, oh, you really have to beat the guy is dumb. If I beat you, I beat you.
exactly.
And all this, like even the fact that a lot of the time it's almost like you're desensitized to the corruption that you're just like, oh yeah. Think about it like this. Jack was doing so well that people even had to be like, let's hope the judges don't screw him over. Why should that be our default thought process? That shouldn't be our default thought process, but it is because that's where boxing has gone to where the point people expect a bit of corruption. And now it's just like there just needs to be a big overhaul. And I don't know who's going to lead the charge. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it has to happen. And there's been too much talk that's happened about it. So whether it's fans speaking through their money, whether it's boxers coming together and, using their power to come to the judges and said enough is enough, whether it's promoters as well. And then you also got to remember as well, some promoters won't want to do it because they are corrupt and going to want to put certain things in their favor in the future. So it's all a big mess and it's a real black eye on boxing. And like I said, if they want to carry on with these stupid decisions, they can. And then you want to go back to low production, not as much money, and then you're going to be clamoring to the 1 or 2 big fights a year. And we need to get boxing to the point where people are watching it regularly. Like, it's not just a thing of, oh, let me just wait for AJ to fight. Let me just watch for Canelo to fight. It shouldn't have to be just wait for 4 big fights a year.
At that point, still personally, I think we are going to touch on Canelo and his fight announcement soon as well.
Yeah.
But it still is that Joshua. Let's see, what the main heavyweight is doing. Cool. Now we've got a couple on welterweights. Sticking on welterweights and 147. Josh Taylor confirmed it. He goes, I'm done. I'm moving up to 147. I might be wrong, but I believe he's a manager to Terence Crawford, being that he's a super champion.
Yeah.
Him moving to 147. The belts, like I said, are kind of tied up. We've got Spencer and Ugas at one point fighting as well. Then we got Crawford on the other side. Bearing in mind what we've just seen here, and we touched on the weight cut, is 147 where we initially thought Josh Taylor might do well, looking more a bit of a struggle than we initially thought for him.
I'll be honest, when there was talk of Josh Taylor going to 147, I stayed quiet because I didn't actually. That division's full of killers. Whether it's Terence Crawford, whether it's Ugas, whether it's Errol Spence Jr., and even the up and comers like Jerome Boots Ennis. When I look at those type of guys, and then I look at Josh Taylor, I don't know how well he's going to fare against them. Especially for me, I was saying to another friend in the chat that the way the way that Josh Taylor fights still needs to be refined. I still don't even think, even when he faced Ramirez, he likes to dust up too much. And I feel like if he was to clean his technique a bit more, clean his fighting style a bit more, there's another level for him to go up. But himself, he's admitted that he likes his brawls, he likes his all-out fights. So if you try to do that against, an Errol Spence or a Terence Crawford, you're in for a long night, or even against Ugas, who will just neutralize you. So it'll be interesting, especially the fact as well with Terence Crawford being a free agent right now, and with Josh Taylor being part of Top Rank. I'm sure that is looking a bit strange because I don't know if Terence ever wants to sign another contract with Top Rank. And rightfully so.
Is he going to do the Top Rank deal again? I
doubt he'll do that. At most, I don't know. I don't know the logistics of this, but what he might do different is that he'll do maybe a contract with Boxer exclusively, and then. But like I said, I don't know how that's then going to work with Top Rank because they do have Josh Taylor. So, and obviously with the lawsuit going on with Terence Crawford about how Top Rank don't promote black fighters in comparison to others is very techie right now. So I'm just hoping that, you know what? For me, this would actually be a good fight for Terence Crawford, just to have another fight under the books until they can make the Errol Spence Ugas winner face him maybe at the end of the year. But then I also got to think, how soon will Terence be able to come back and fight? And how soon will Josh Taylor come back out to fight? And will it be also a case of they give Josh Taylor step-aside money and tell Josh Taylor, take some warm-up fights at welterweight before you come back out? Because after that performance, you really want to step to Terence Crawford straight after that.
I was going to say, even though the iron is hot in terms of Josh Taylor's name, if you go into Crawford, and no shame in losing to Crawford, but that's your first fight at 147 and you get beat quite badly, people aren't going to look at you as strongly, so maybe tune a fight. And then just quickly on Catterall before we move on to the other fights that are coming up, where does he go from here? Like, obviously now with Taylor going, the belts are going to be spread and stuff. Surely he's got to be able to get that opportunity out of one.
That Catterall, whatever organization had Jack Catterall fighting for this mandatory needs to give him that rematch and run it back. And hopefully, this puts Jack Catterall in good stead with like the British public, that they'll be tuned in for his next fight. And hopefully he gets to right the wrongs. But he also got, I don't know who else is in that division. I'll be honest with you. I'm not too familiar with that division, but hopefully he gets to go in there and gets his world title shot. And hopefully, this appearance on Boxer will allow him to face someone or allow to put himself in good stead with the British public, and they tune into his next fight because he deserves it, especially after that performance. And going into Glasgow, I know it's from Chorley, and I think the biggest city nearest to that is Manchester. So,
I mean, look, there's a prime arena, and he's hot right now. There's an arena fight for him to actually headline. Like, headline this at Manchester Arena. Whilst I would say strike while the iron is hot. You can book this. Boxer can promote the hell out of this, and there's a narrative, there's a storyline for him to genuinely go in and have his back-to-back fights where he's a headliner, and I think it could work.
I think the opportunity is there, so we'll see how that goes, and hopefully he gets a chance to right the wrongs, and it'll be interesting because, like I said, Teofimo's also in this division now. So he's probably looking at this like this is his chance as well to like clean up the division and get a whole bunch of belts. But it'll be interesting because there's other lightweights as well that might say, you know, oh, I might move up as well. Listen, because Haney's been saying that he finds it hard to go down to lightweight. I know that Gervonta Davis probably looking now thinking there's a belt for me to be won.
Exactly.
And now Gervonta Davis also doesn't have an excuse to not have a world title because now that Josh Taylor's relinquished all of them, you know, so it actually might be a big blessing in disguise that Josh Taylor's moving up. So we can maybe build like future stars from, you know, Gervonta Davis to Teofimo to Jack Catterall, who's an unlikely star. But listen, man, they need to make it happen. So whether it's PBC, whether it's top rank, whether it's boxer, maybe even if his matchroom's got a few like welterweights that's there, get on the ball, get this division moving again, and let's make it great.
So with that, let's move to the upcoming fights that we've got going on. Just to quickly touch on them, got just confirmed over the past weekend 2 fights, big events, and starting off with Canelo Alvarez versus Bivol. How excited are you to see this particular fight? And 2, early doors in, how impressed are you with someone like Canelo, who continuously goes about going for belts, continuously looks to get a quote-unquote challenging opponent? And I guess actually my third point is this is meant to be what we class as a 2-fight deal where after this, providing he wins his fight and Triple G wins his fight, they should clash for a third. So are you even looking at that as something exciting? But I guess just on this with Bivol, how like impressed are you with Canelo that he's going down this particular route and continues to trying to win belts?
Do you know what's funny? Because the PBC lot and their supporters saying that he's stuck in Charlo and Benavidez, it must be crack. Because I don't know in what world you think that fighting the actual world champion in Bivol is a duck. People need to. I understand that everyone's a fan of Canelo. Well, there's a very few small crowd that's not a fan of Canelo, but don't disrespect the guy. If you don't know who Bivol is, just say that, but don't call him a small fry. Don't act like Bivol's like some, you know, cheap champ that's got given the belt. This is a legitimate world champion who's looked solid. And the funny thing is, in his last fight, you know, you can say that his skills are so good that he got criticized for not coming out of first gear because he was just comfortable in controlling someone. And I feel like this fight is going to be the one to push him. Now, do I feel like Bivol's the better fighter at this weight class? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be a fair and square, even ground to fight on? Absolutely not.
I think I might be wrong, but when Kovalev lost to Canelo, Bivol was on the undercard as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Bivol seen firsthand Canelo being able to do his thing in that regard. But super early prediction.
Listen, when that rehydration clause kicks in, just remember that I told you so.
I mean, look,
there is no way they are going to fight Bivol on fair grounds. They are going to tell, the same way we saw with Khan versus Brook, they are going to tell Bivol, wear our gloves, you're fighting on this surface. They might just tell him, listen, rehydration clause, so don't you dare think that, you know, after weighing that you can balloon up to a certain weight, which I feel like is, I like, in comparison to MMA, I like some of the power that these boxers have to, you know, gain more money and everything. But sometimes I do feel like they've got too much control. Like something like a rehydration clause, unless the Athletic Commission sets that, I don't think that should be a thing on the fighters to tell someone. If someone makes the weight in a healthy manner, you can't then tell that person, well, you can only, you know, pump up to this amount of weight after. That's BS for me. And I feel like that's what's going to happen in this fight because Canelo's the A side and he brings a lot of money. If it doesn't happen, then it'll be a true test for Canelo to see, like, let's see how far you can push your skills. And the way I even see it is this: listen, if Canelo goes up there and wins, then obviously it sets up the fight to face the winner of Beterbiev and Smith. And at the same time, if he loses, it's a good rebound fight to then go against Triple G after.
No, I mean, I might be wrong, but I believe it's only if both fighters win do they fight each other.
Listen, let me tell you something. If Canelo was to lose and Golovkin was to win, that would make it an even greater fight.
Right. I was just going to say that makes it more entertaining and more interesting.
Makes it way more interesting because everyone's then going to be like, you know, how great is Canelo with bouncing back? And then they're going to be looking at Golovkin like, has he still got it in him to get that third fight? Especially, I'm sure that third fight is going to be at super middleweight. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting. And I know in regards to the other bracket with the light heavyweights, with Beterbiev versus Smith, the winner of that potentially faces Yard first before they face Canelo in unification. So it'll be interesting to see. I know they're still trying to finalize Beterbiev and Smith. It's kind of like a done deal. I think money-wise, Joe Smith is trying to get more, and listen, more power to him. Go get your money because this sport ain't easy, especially going against Beterbiev. If I'm putting my health at risk, you better pay me with the big bucks. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how this all pans out. So it has a wider impact to the rest of the light heavyweight community. So we'll see how it goes.
And just a quick one before we wrap up. Tyson Fury, Dillian White, we talked on where the venue would be, what it would be. Stadium fight is confirmed.
Yeah.
I kind of made a little quick video to say, let's see what Fury can do in terms of fan base. I guess that's what I'm just going to touch on this. Are you surprised it's at a stadium or did you expect it? And two, how do you think the fans will just come out in support of this fight?
I feel like it's going to be more neutral fans than it is going to be Fury fans. I feel like he should have done it. If they're going to do a stadium, they should have done it at Old Trafford because he's from up north to garner that many fans. But maybe that team knows the analytics and they've seen that maybe there's more money to be done to be doing the fight in Wembley in London. And then also they might think that Fury's got more of a bigger fan base because statistically speaking, he hasn't really performed better than Dillian White UK wise in regards to venues, which is funny that everyone was telling about Dillian White, oh, you should take B-side, and telling Dillian White should take 20% or less, because if we're actually looking at venues UK wise, Dillian White has done better than Fury. That is fact. That's not opinion. That's not but you don't like Fury. That is objective fact.
Fury's thing though, like his last few main fights, they've been outside of the UK
because he had to. Let's watch this as well. He had to people need to stop acting like he's Usyk. Usyk is the real one that goes to people's backyards, beats them up, and take their belts. Fury had to do it. It wasn't a thing of like Fury just like, oh, I'm fighting, man. Let me go to your. No, you had no choice but to go there. Stop acting like it wasn't that. And the fans need to stop acting like it wasn't that. You had to go there. It wasn't a thing of like, oh, right, let's do this. So we'll see what happens, man.
And with that, we are going to wrap up today's show. But before we do, as always, if you are liking the content, you know exactly what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend, tell a friend. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Weigh In. Follow us on all our socials. The Instagram is _The Weigh In _. The Twitter handle is the same _The Weigh In _. Let us know your opinions on the controversy from yesterday. Let us know about your opinions on the upcoming fights as well. Before we wrap up, Sugar Ray, have we got any last words that we should know from you?
Why are you waiting?
Justice for Jack Catterall.
Justice for Jack Catterall. With that, again, thank you. Thank you again, Sugar Ray, for coming on for another episode of the Weigh In podcast. We are going to wrap up today. And take care, everyone. Love and peace.